Echo recently got released and I decided to let you guys know how my first day in the game went. This is mostly a multiplayer game, but I'm playing alone on my own planet because fuck others, I can do this on my own. The game's interface is all over the place, but it does look nice. When starting out, all I was given was an axe to chop down trees. This was my first goal, chopping down a bunch of trees. As you can notice, when you chop down a tree, you're left with a stump, a bunch of broken woody shit, and the ground turns to dirt from grass. This means that cutting trees negatively affects the environment. After fucking up the nature like a proper human, I had to build a builder's hut. In order to do this, I needed to switch the input method. Pressing tab brings forth a cursor that allowed me to click around the interface. I needed to click the blueprints button and select the hut. A pivot appeared on the ground, and now I needed to go back to the normal input by pressing tab again. Making the foundation was simple. I just clicked on the ground once and then dragged the pivot on the other side until the field was green and plopped it. Then place the pivot inside the foundation area. This pivot is important because once the hut is completed, it becomes your workbench. Now I simply had to plop down the logs until the entire place looked like a building. It is a bit clunky to place these little shits and it did start annoying me pretty quickly, but it is an alpha game after all, and considering that it can run at 1080p with 30 FPS, and it is reasonably playable, it is already 10 times better than most alpha games. Once the entire building was closed off with a roof, the pivot magically turned into a workbench. In this workbench you can craft a bunch of things, but most importantly, rough cut lumber. This material is pretty much the most important thing in the first hour of playing the game, since you can craft a bunch of things from it. Building takes a certain amount of time, and since the game runs on a server, you can't speed it up, so I went to take a shit because I don't like waiting. Next step was creating the tools. You can create pickaxes, death's weapon, hammer, hoe, and shovel. Each one of these work on different materials, but the most important tool for the time being is the death's weapon, because it can cut plants that give me food, and since I have calories and stomach stats, I need to eat so my skills can be improved faster and so I don't die. I queued up a door, death's weapon, and a pickaxe. Since I didn't feel like shitting again, I went through the interface a bit. The first are the calories that get spent over time and when you do work. Then the body mass that can't be too much or too little, otherwise you will move slower. I guess this game equally condemns hamburgers and toilet hugging, which is very nice to see. Next one is the skill multiplier. Different foods have different nutritional values, so depending how much and what you eat, this will affect the growth of your skill points. If you eat too much meat but not enough fruit, then your skill multiplier will be fucked, and you won't learn new skills as fast as someone who carefully balances their diet. The only thing missing now is doing CrossFit, then your skills will be beautifully optimized. Last stat is the speed that is affected by your hunger and weight. Since there was still a lot of time left for the items, I went and looked at pictures of cats to pass the time. Once done, I picked up the stuff and wanted to delete the wall so I can place the door. I couldn't delete the wall. At first I blamed the alpha for this, so I managed to jump out through the hole in the roof, and I thought I could place the door from the other side. I tried to break the wall with a pickaxe. No go. Maybe placing the door would replace the wall? Not quite. I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing at this point, but this door was telling me to stop and go harvest some plants. I used the devil's weapon to grab a bunch of plants that were scattered around the area, and then I returned to the hut. I noticed that there were special rocks in the ground.
Now they're minerals!
And I decided to mine them all with the pickaxe. This reminded very much of Minecraft, but I really liked how the blocks changed shape when mined. It added some weird sense of satisfaction for me, and I really enjoyed doing this. When I was done mining, I placed normal stone blocks to cover the holes. Like I said, it seemed very satisfying for me. I went back in the hut, through the roof of course, and ordered a hoe, hammer, a bunch of rough cut lumber and some refined stone. Since I had to wait again, I decided to eat a bunch of huckleberries. This took only a few seconds, so I wanted to do something else. I checked the laws button. You see, when playing online on a planet with other people, you all can create laws and vote on them. People who break the chosen laws get banned from the planet. I went ahead and created my first law. Clicking on the thing pops out your browser with the proposed law form. I named it Spacey Law. My rule was that each player may not kill more than 12 common grass per day. Grass lives matter. Once the law is proposed, this new interface appears where you can see an overview of all people who voted on it. After 24 hours, the majority of yes or no votes decides will the law become a part of the planet. It is a really cool system that encourages players to work together and get rid of trolls and ass maggots who decide to ruin things. You're also able to create graphs which help monitor the activity of different aspects of your planet and the laws. It is definitely very cool and I like it. Then I made a campfire. You can cook meat and create a torch with it. Once you upgrade your skills, I assume you can create even more stuff with it. I was really curious to see what these skill books and scrolls were about, so I queued up the archery skill book. I wanted to learn how to hunt the animals because I need to eat meat, so my skill multiplier doesn't go to shit. So I created both the book and the scroll, and I learned the skill. I wasn't really sure what the fuck happened, so I went into the skill options and noticed that I had the archery skill thing now. You see, at this point I was too stupid to realize that this yellow outline marked the skill that I was continuously learning while playing. I didn't think too much about it, but I selected the archery skill and I was expecting the game to allow me to build bows and arrows, right? Wrong, I couldn't build shit. I was quite puzzled at this moment. I wasn't sure what was the problem, but I assumed that I needed the woodworking skill in order to get the bow and arrow, since if I improve my woodworking, I should get access to more items that can be created with wood. It sounds quite logical, so I went with it. I needed a shit ton of lumber to make the book, so I went harvesting. I think I should mention that when you cut trees, you should do your best to not allow the cut tree to drop in the water, because that causes additional pollution and you can't use the tree anymore. Then I finally made the book and learned the skill. I went into the skill options and contemplated life a bit. I clicked around a bit like a stupid idiot and I left the skill options with the trading skill outlined. Literally the worst possible skill, because I'm playing alone, so trading is a bit useless for me. Keep in mind, at this point I still don't understand how the skills work. I spent the next 20 minutes trying to figure out why I couldn't build any new items, and then it hit me. Blueprints button. I opened the blueprints and there you have it, new buildings were available. More specifically, the Hunter's Lodge, Lumber Mill and Storehouse. I decided to build the Hunter's Lodge since I was pretty sure it would spawn a workshop that would allow me to build the bow and arrow. But notice something very important in the text that comes up when you hover over the lodge. It says structural lumber as material. I do not have or can build structural lumber, but I didn't pay attention. I built an entire building using rough cut lumber, but something was wrong. Shit just didn't work, so I went back to the workshop and created roof blocks. I placed these roof blocks on top of my new building and I was pretty sure I was ready to get me some bows and arrows. The building looked alright, but when entering I still had one red requirement. I had 0 out of 40 constructed wood blocks. I spent about 10 minutes trying to figure out why this was the case, and then I finally noticed the material. The material needed to be different and the entire building was a waste of life. I cursed at the babies and went to the workshop to figure out how exactly can I get structural lumber. Remember the other building that you can build, aside from the Hunter's Lodge? The lumber mill, yes. For some reason I did not think of creating the lumber mill that would get me lumber from wood. Lumber that I need to build the lodge. I literally gave up at this point because I couldn't figure it out. I realized that making these videos is actually helping me become a non-idiotic gamer, so thank you guys, you're witnessing my idiocy and at the same time helping me learn to stop that. So that is it for my first day in Echo, a global survival game that cares about the environment. I built a hut, got some skills, got some plants, and realized how much of a fucking idiot I am. Let me know do you like Echo and feel free to visit their website in case you would like to play it. I have been Petard, your gloriously idiotic lord, and I shall see you next time.